Ransomed is a pretty interesting read. This is a novel written by M.A. Hunter. This was published originally in 2020, and I read the ebook version. And I have to say, I really enjoyed it, and I didn't expect it to go where it did. So, before I get in with the narrative, some things to consider. I feel like the beginning of it, I'd say maybe the first half of the book was quite slow. It wasn't boring. I was still interested, but not a lot happens for quite a while. But it's absolutely worth sticking with it. So if you've tried to read it and you gave up before around the halfway mark, I definitely recommend going back to it and sticking with it for a little bit longer, as it definitely picks up. There's also quite a bit of fluff in this that doesn't need to be there. Again, mostly in the first half of the narrative. And also, I have a couple of spoiler thoughts, but I will discuss those at the end. For the most part, this will be spoiler free. I'll give a spoiler warning in due course. There are two reasons why I wanted to read this. One, I just love stories about missing children because I think the dichotomy of the innocent child and the dark corruption of the crime is pretty great, and it's so easy to become emotionally involved in missing children's stories because they do tug at the heartstrings. That's part of the narrative. And also, this is a series. From what I can see, it's a series that focuses around the investigative journalist Emma Hunter, who is our protagonist. And the only thing that annoyed me about her, and it's not really her, but other characters, so many other characters praised her so much because she's written this book, and it's a book exposing something. I don't want to go into too much detail, but it's a very popular book, very successful, and suddenly everybody knows what she looks like. That's not very realistic because not many authors, even authors of popular true crime books, their faces are not usually out there that much, even if they're doing interviews and things. It's not where basically everybody who met her said something to the effect of, "You're Emma Hunter, I love your book." Not believable in the slightest. But hopefully, with the books after this, that's going to die down a little bit as we get more time between the release of her book and whichever cases she looks into next. But the case she's looking at here is something that's quite close to her because we learn that 20 years ago, when she was a little girl, her sister went missing. And I won't explain the context, I don't want to spoil it too much, but her sister went missing. So missing person cases are something quite close to her. And I have a spoiler thought on that. Not a bad thing, but a spoiler thing that I'll leave towards the end. And when she is approached by an elderly man asking him to look into the missing case of his granddaughter, she's hesitant but ultimately decides to take it on. And this is the story of her trying to unravel what happened. And I will say I didn't work it out, which is a good thing. I don't like it when things are revealed too soon, and I feel like enough information was withheld for long enough that when various aspects were revealed, it came, at least to me, as quite a surprise. All of the other characters are really likable. Emma is really likable. I just got fed up of people worshipping the ground she walked on in a very unrealistic way. I get that it was trying to show that she was successful with this book, and that's why people might come to her to take on other cases, but it was overdone. It was done to the point of being no longer believable. But that aside, I really liked her character, the way she presented herself. I felt she was a very realistic, believable individual, and the fact that she had a missing persons case at the very heart of her existence, and something that obviously has affected her every day for 20 years, definitely meant that she was in a good position to take on this case because she knew how people would be feeling. And it certainly worked very well. Is it a realistic story? I'd say so. Sometimes with stories like this or any kind of crime novel, some things can be a little bit far-fetched. But as I said, the most unrealistic thing is seemingly everybody in the country knowing her face. Other than that, it's actually very believable, and I could see this happening. I could see this working the way it played out. So definitely recommend it if it sounds like your kind of story. And I have now got the ebook for the second book in the Missing Children's Case Files series, which I believe is also an Emma Hunter story. So I'm really keen to see. There are 6 of these Missing Children Case Files books. And if they're as good as this first one, I think I'm going to be in for a really enjoyable time. So a few spoiler thoughts from now. I'm not going to actually spoil the main narrative. I won't say what happened with the little girl who went missing, or ultimately whether she was found or not, but what I will say is that the ending was very rushed. Very, very, very rushed. And I felt, not that I didn't feel the ending was satisfying insofar as what happened, but I feel like I had so many questions and I wanted to know how different people would respond to what happened at the end. And we never got any of that. And we needed at least another chapter, or just an opportunity for more information, because it was just, okay, so this is where it's going and the book's over. And I'm not speaking with regards to Emma's missing sister. I'm not on about that. I'm assuming that that's something we get more information about in the books that follow. And I'm really hoping that that is the case. My hope is that she's found, but it's been 20 years, so I don't know. I don't know if that's where the author wants to take it. But with regards to Ransomed, the ending is so abrupt. It felt unfinished. And considering the first half of the book is so slow, we could have taken some of that energy and put it into the ending instead. So that I didn't love. But I don't think there's anything else about this book that didn't work. It did otherwise feel believable. The characters felt realistic. And as I said, I didn't work out exactly what was going on. So the element of mystery, the element of surprise, that was really strong and effective as well. Really looking forward to reading the next one. For now, Ransomed, other than being really slow to start and for about half of the book, and then having a really abrupt ending, and too many people basically hero worshipping Emma, other than those things, it's a pretty excellent read and one that I rather enjoyed.